Have you been seeing parasite cleanses blow up online, but none of the videos actually tell you how to do it safely? Most of them just show you dying worms in a toilet and call it a day. Here's what they're not telling you. If you don't do this right, you could be feeding the parasites instead of killing them. And that triple washed organic lettuce? Yeah, we need to talk. Welcome to Longevity Lifestyle, where we blend ancient healing wisdom with modern science to bring you natural solutions that actually work. And today, we're diving into parasite cleanses, what they are, how they work, and what happens when you combine them with fasting. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand how to tell if you have parasites, how to get rid of them safely, and whether adding fasting to the mix is genius or just asking for trouble. Because here's what most people get wrong. There's one food that literally feeds parasites while you're trying to kill them, and it's probably sitting in your kitchen right now. I'll tell you what it is in just a minute, but first, let's talk about how common this actually is. So, real talk, parasites are way more common than you think. We're not just talking about people who travel to exotic locations or drink sketchy water. We're talking about everyday life in developed countries. Here's the facts. Cases of parasitic infections from contaminated produce tripled in the United States between 2016 and 2018. And lettuce? It's responsible for over 75% of all leafy green foodborne illnesses, costing billions annually in healthcare expenses, lost productivity, and economic impact. Multiple studies have found that lettuce is the most contaminated vegetable, with parasites like Giardia being the most common culprit. So yeah, that triple washed organic spring mix you've been eating straight from the container, it might be hosting a party you didn't RSVP to. But it's not just lettuce. You can pick up parasites from regular activities like walking barefoot in grass or soil, swimming in lakes, rivers, or oceans, eating undercooked meat or fish, contact with pets, or even just touching contaminated surfaces and then eating. Your body is a host organism. That's just nature. And parasites have evolved over millions of years to be really, really good at what they do, which is living off of you. And cue photo of your dusty, toxic ex. I mean, parasites come in human form too. Just saying. Okay, back to business. So, how do you know if you have them? The most common signs are chronic digestive issues, things like bloating, gas, constipation, or diarrhea that won't quit, unexplained fatigue or brain fog that doesn't seem to have a cause, skin problems like rashes, eczema, or breakouts that don't respond to treatment, unexplained weight changes without changing your diet, grinding your teeth at night, always feeling hungry even after eating, and here's one from Ayurveda, a scalloped tongue. That's when you can see teeth marks on the edges of your tongue, which indicates malabsorption. And malabsorption can be caused by parasites stealing your nutrients. Let me ask you, have you ever done a parasite cleanse? Or do you think you might need one based on these symptoms? Drop a comment right now and let me know. Okay, so now let's answer the big question. What actually happens when you combine fasting with a parasite cleanse? Here's what does happen during a fast. First, your body triggers autophagy. That's the cellular cleanup process where your cells literally eat and recycle damaged components. Autophagy ramps up significantly during fasting, and research shows it helps your immune system target intracellular parasites more effectively. Second, when you're not eating, your digestive system gets a break. Your immune system, which normally has to deal with the constant work of processing food, can now redirect those resources. Think of it like sending more troops to the battlefield. Third, parasites lose their direct food source. Most intestinal parasites feed on what you're eating, so when you stop eating, they're suddenly scrambling. So in theory, fasting should help, right? Well, not exactly. Here's the nuanced truth. The research shows that fasting alone does not remove established parasites. In fact, Some parasites can adapt or even become more aggressive when they're stressed and starving. They have specifically evolved survival mechanisms for exactly this scenario. What the research does show is that autophagy helps restrict viral infections and certain intracellular parasites. But larger intestinal parasites, they're trickier. They've developed ways to hijack your body's autophagy pathways to their own advantage. So here's the real answer. Fasting doesn't kill parasites on its own, but it creates an internal environment where antiparasitic herbs and your immune system can work more effectively together. When you combine fasting with these herbs, you're essentially starving the parasites of their preferred food, boosting your immune function through autophagy, allowing the herbs to work without interference from digestion, and creating an inhospitable environment. But here's something critical that most people don't know. Parasites don't actually come out of your body unless you're eating. They need the movement of digestion and elimination to be physically expelled. And when you're not eating, you're not pooping. So fasting is like the prep work. It weakens them and creates the right internal conditions, but you need food moving through your system to actually flush them out. And one more thing. The die-off symptoms, which I'll go into in a minute, can hit harder during a fast because your body is in deep detox mode. It's like doing a regular workout versus doing that same workout at high altitude. Same movements, way more intense. If this is making sense and you're realizing there's way more to this than TikTok was telling you, hit that like button. It helps us share this information with more people who want to heal naturally. Also, make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. We've got a whole series on fasting, cleansing, and longevity that you don't want to miss. All right, so how do you actually do a parasite cleanse? Let's start with the beginner-friendly approach, because if you've never done this before, you don't want to start with extreme fasting and intense herbs. Actually, the beginner approach is incredibly effective on its own, and it doesn't require any fasting at all, just cleaning up your diet and taking some herbs. Now, remember that food I mentioned earlier that feeds parasites? It's sugar, which also means refined carbs and processed foods. Basically, anything that spikes your blood sugar. Parasites thrive on glucose. So if you're doing a parasite cleanse while eating donuts and pasta, you're just feeding them a feast while trying to evict them. It doesn't work. But fruit is different, and we'll bust that fruit sugar myth in just a minute. But first, let's talk about the cleanse. Phase 1 is the preparation phase. Start by starving the parasites of their favorite foods. Cut out sugar and refined carbs because parasites love these. Also, eliminate processed foods and alcohol. Start eating more bitter foods like arugula, dandelion greens, and cruciferous vegetables, and start drinking warm lemon water first thing in the morning to wake up your digestion. Also, start taking 1 clove of raw, crushed garlic per day if you can tolerate it. This prep phase is crucial. You're setting the stage and starting to rebuild your digestive fire. Next is phase 2. The cleanse itself. This is where you introduce anti-parasitic herbs and foods, which should all be taken on an empty stomach in the morning for maximum effectiveness. First, we have papaya seeds, and you can take these one of 2 ways. The traditional method is to grind 1 teaspoon of fresh papaya seeds using a mortar and pestle or coffee grinder. Then, mix it with 1 tablespoon of raw, cold-packed local honey and take it straight. The honey helps with the bitter taste and also has antimicrobial properties that work with the seeds. Or, if that's too intense, blend half a cup of papaya with a teaspoon of the seeds included. After blending, stir in your tablespoon of honey and drink it as a smoothie. Don't blend the honey because the heat and friction from the blender can destroy its natural enzymes and medicinal properties. Both methods work. The first is more concentrated, the second is more palatable. Next is raw pumpkin seeds. Before you eat these, make sure you've taken some warm digestive tea to start your digestive fire. Then, eat about a 1/4 cup and wait at least 30 minutes before eating anything else. This can be a lot for your stomach to handle first thing in the morning, so make sure to take your time eating them and chew them thoroughly. And then there's raw garlic. You can start with 1 and work up to 2 to 3 cloves daily. Crush them and take them on an empty stomach. You can mix it with a little honey if needed. Finally, make a tea from a combination of wormwood, black walnut, and clove, which you can find at most health food stores. Take 8 ounces twice daily on an empty stomach for up to 14 days. I'm telling you right now, this tea tastes like medicine, so don't say I didn't warn you. Now, here's the most important part. 2 hours after taking your anti-parasitic herbs or foods, take 1 teaspoon of activated charcoal mixed in water. The charcoal binds to the toxins from the dying parasites and helps remove them from your body. Without this step, you're just recirculating those toxins and you'll feel much worse. Now, remember that die-off reaction I mentioned earlier? Let's talk about it now. When parasites start dying, they release toxins, and it can make you feel worse before you feel better. Hence the name. I'll tell you what you might feel in just a minute, but this is actually a sign the cleanse is working, and also why professional guidance is recommended. During this cleanse phase, avoid all animal products. That's meat, poultry, dairy, fish, and eggs. These are hard to digest and can actually feed certain parasites. Stick with plant-based, easily digestible foods like cooked vegetables, vegetable broth, steamed or baked sweet potatoes, and lots of fresh fruit. And here's another important tip. Avoid raw, cold foods during this phase except for fruit, but that fruit should be room temperature, not cold. Cooked vegetables are easier to digest and won't dampen your digestive fire, but fruit is the exception, and here's why. Fruit sugar is not the same as processed sugar when it comes to parasites. Yes, fruit contains natural sugars, but it also contains fiber, enzymes, and water that actually help your body flush out parasites mechanically. The fiber literally helps sweep parasites through your digestive tract and out of your body. So while you're avoiding refined sugar and processed carbs, you should actually be eating more fruit during a parasite cleanse, not less. Watermelon, papaya, pineapple, berries, and pomegranate are especially powerful and have enzymes that break down parasite biofilms. This is why many protocols recommend breaking a fast with fruit. It's gentle on your system while actively helping to eliminate parasites. All right, now let's talk about what to expect when you do this, because nobody wants to be caught off guard. First, the die-off symptoms. These typically hit around days 3 to 5 of your cleanse. You might experience headaches, fatigue, nausea, brain fog, mood swings, or skin breakouts. This is your body dealing with the toxins being released by the dying parasites. It's temporary and actually a good sign that things are working. Stay hydrated, rest when you need to, and don't push through intense symptoms. Those symptoms are your body's way of asking you to slow down. Now let's talk about what you might see in the toilet, because this is what everyone wants to know, but nobody talks about. Here's the reality. Most parasites are microscopic, so you won't see them, but you might notice changes in your stool, like different colors, textures, or unusual mucus. Some people see rope-like strands or white stringy material, which could be mucus, biofilm, or in some cases, actual parasites being expelled. If you have larger parasites like roundworms or tapeworms, yes, you might see them. They can look like spaghetti, flat ribbons, or small rice-like segments. It's unsettling, but it's also confirmation that the cleanse is working. However, don't become obsessed with looking for parasites. The absence of visible parasites doesn't mean the cleanse isn't working. Most of the action is happening at a microscopic level. You'll know it's working by how you feel. Better digestion, clearer skin, more energy, better sleep, and that constant hunger finally subsiding. Timeline-wise, you'll usually stop feeling the die-off symptoms by week 2, and you should start feeling better. By week 3 or 4, most people report significant improvements in their original symptoms. Now, when should you be concerned? If you experience severe abdominal pain, high fever, bloody stools, or vomiting that won't stop, contact a healthcare provider immediately. These aren't normal die-off symptoms. They indicate something that needs medical attention. Also, if you see a large amount of worms being expelled, it's worth consulting a practitioner to make sure you're handling the cleanse appropriately and to potentially get tested afterwards. Now, if you're already experienced with fasting and want to try the combination approach, here's how it's typically done. Start with a water fast for 3 to 7 days. Around the halfway mark, introduce antiparasitic tea plus the activated charcoal 2 hours later. Continue the herbs for 10 to 14 days total, breaking your fast gently with fruits while continuing the herbs. Remember, you need food moving through your system to actually expel the parasites. The fast just weakens them first. Then cycle off the herbs for 1 to 2 weeks to let your body replenish. You can repeat the herbs for up to another 14 days if needed, but this time keep eating light meals throughout. But again, this is not where beginners should start. Build up to this. I have another video all about that too. I'll link it at the end. Now, who should not do a parasite cleanse? Do not attempt this if you are pregnant or nursing, dealing with serious liver or kidney disease, severely underweight or malnourished, taking prescription medications, or under 18 years old without medical supervision. Also, if you're considering combining it with fasting, definitely consult a healthcare practitioner who understands both fasting and natural medicine. All right, so let's recap. Parasites are common, way more common than you think. Your symptoms might not be from gluten or stress. They might just be from freeloaders in your gut. Fasting can enhance a parasite cleanse, but the beginner protocol is actually incredibly effective. Remember, parasites are part of nature, and we are naturally host organisms. The goal isn't to live in a sterile bubble. It's to keep your internal environment strong enough so that nothing unwanted can thrive. And if you want to learn more about fasting safely, because it pairs so well with so many healing protocols, check out our complete fasting series right here. You'll learn when to fast, when not to fast, and how to do it in a way that actually supports your body instead of stressing it out. And remember, longevity isn't luck, it's a lifestyle. Until next time.